Good morning, guys. Tony Maritato here. In today's video, I want to revisit some of the information that's out there regarding Medicare, cash pay, physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech language pathology, and more specifically, while I'm not going to answer the question directly, can you treat a Medicare beneficiary for cash? I'm going to show you some resources where you can look up some information to make the decision for yourself. So behind me on the screen, you can see CMS Chapter 15. I'll post a link to this document down below. We're going to go to section 40. Now, this is a section that's not normally visited by PTOT SLP. Usually we're living in section 220, 230, but let's go to section 40. I'm going to click on this. I'm going to cite 2 or 3 areas of this document that I want you to pay special attention to. So this is specifically the section talking about the effect of beneficiary agreements not to use Medicare coverage. And if we come here, now, in my opinion, this part right here is what kind of negates any benefit really of trying to finagle the system so that you can bill a Medicare beneficiary for a covered service. I just don't think it's worth the risk. But what they say here is, quote, the only situation in which a non-opt-out physician, practitioner, or other supplier are not required to submit claims to Medicare for covered services is where the beneficiary or the beneficiary's legal representative refuses of his or her own free will to authorize the submission of a bill to Medicare. Now, if you are of the opinion that that allows you to provide covered services to Medicare beneficiaries for cash pay if the beneficiary or the representative of the beneficiary refuses to allow you to submit a claim, and you have an attorney who's willing to back you up should this go to, conflict resolution, to up the scale, then, that's your decision. But I don't see the benefit in that because of the second part of that paragraph. However, the limits on what the physician, practitioner, or supplier may collect for the beneficiary continue to apply to charges for the covered service, notwithstanding the absence of a Medicare claim. So basically what they're saying is whether you bill Medicare for cash pay services or not, whether for PTOT SLP services, whether you believe the patient has the right to allow you to not submit a claim, whatever, you're still not allowed to charge more than the Medicare allowed amount for the services being delivered. So what's the benefit to you? It's not like you can charge your cash rate. You might as well either contract with Medicare so you can submit a claim for at least the initial evaluation where you would make the determination if the services are covered or not, or just send them to a participating provider so that that provider can provide the covered services, and then you can provide supplemental services that are not covered under the Medicare benefit and would be open to allowing you to charge your cash rate. To me, it just seems so black and white. It seems so simple. There are plenty of Medicare providers out there who are happy to do the evaluation, provide the covered services if necessary, which opens the door, gives you the green light to provide the cash pay services. Now, the other 2 sections in this that I think are important, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump back up to the top so you can see them here. So we just looked at the main intro section to 40. We want to see if you should read like what's a private contract, but what I want to show you is who is able to opt out. Give me a second. It takes me a minute to find it. Opt-out relationship. Let's just go down here and we'll scroll through it. We'll get there. Here we go. Okay, so section 40.4, definition of a physician practitioner. These are the individuals who are allowed to opt out of Medicare. Notice nowhere on that list, and there's not a huge list, nowhere on that list do you see PTOT SLP. So we are not allowed to opt out of Medicare. We're not allowed to enter into a private contract with the Medicare beneficiary, plain and simple. So this is the section you want to use to find your information about who may be an opt-out provider with the Medicare benefit. And then the last one is, let's take a quick look at the mandatory claim submission law. So let me just do a quick search. Right here. So mandatory claim submission law, section 40.33. This section, of the act, physician practitioner submission of claims regarding mandatory claim submission does not apply once a practitioner or a physician signs and submits an affidavit to Medicare. We are not able to do that for the duration of the physician practitioner's opt-out period unless the physician practitioner knowingly or willfully violates the term of the affidavit. So the main thing is you want to be sure you come over here to ssa.gov and take a look, read the law. I know there's a lot of terminology in here that I'm not comfortable with, but at least you have the citation, the reference of where the information is coming from. And the way that I always look at this, once again, is I'm not trying to, work my way around the law. I'm not trying to circumvent anything. I legitimately want to do what's right. And so if this law is in place to protect the Medicare beneficiary and I have an opportunity to abide by the law, that is what I'm going to do. So if I was, which I used to be, a cash-based provider with no affiliation to Medicare, I would, number one, find a participating provider who could do the initial evaluation to make the determination of what is medically necessary, what is a covered service. Number two, either that provider would provide the covered services or make the determination that covered services are not required. In both cases, the door is open for me to come in to either provide the supplemental services on a cash pay basis or provide the services that are not medically necessary, not reasonable, and not a covered benefit. I think for most of us who are in the cash pay world, there is so much opportunity out there that we don't have to split these hairs. We don't have to be on the fence. We don't have to force, ourselves into a situation where maybe we're violating some of these laws unintentionally. Guys, I'm an outpatient ortho. If I was doing cash pay for Medicare beneficiaries, I'd be doing golf performance. I'd be doing community activities. I'd be doing so many things that are not covered benefits when delivered by a physical therapist in private practice, that it wouldn't even be a question of whether I would be close to this violating the mandatory claim submission law. So let me know what you guys think. Check out the rest of the channel. I've got a bunch of videos that go into the specific LCDs for CGS and other Medicare MACs. They show you more terminology that Medicare uses that I believe clearly states a lot of the things that are being billed to Medicare probably are not reasonable, are not medically necessary. And even if they were under the plan of care, they're not covered services forever. They're not maintenance. They're not covered maintenance. They fall outside of the scope of all of that. If you have more questions, let me know down in the comments. I wish you the best. Have an amazing 2023.